Did I have ambitious plans for August? Yes. Did I travel in August? Yes. Did I get to those ambitious plans in August? No, I didn't, but that is a-okay. We'll go over what I read, what I didn't get around to, what my September plans are in this video. So grab a drink and let's get right into it. Hey y'all, welcome to, or welcome back to my channel, Scotty Shuri Reads. In this video, I'm gonna quickly go over the 5 books that I did read in August, and then we're gonna move into my pretty extensive September TBR because there are 2 readathons and a vlog idea that I have that kind of overlap. So this one might be a little bit of a longer video, but it should be a lot of fun, and I'm very excited to get into those books. Getting right into it, the August wrap up. Well, I had big plans to read for the Full Moon Readathon, which is hosted by Jan Agaton. I'll have all of her stuff linked below. Unfortunately, I just didn't get around to it. During those 13 days that happened, I was traveling in Montana to see my in-laws. So, I mean, I got some reading done, but not nearly as much as I thought I was going to. And then when we came back, I had other reading plans, like continuing fantasy series, which for that poll that I had, it's still relevant, and thank you so much. I'm gonna try to get to that at the end of this month. So it's still there. I've started that vlog a little bit. We'll talk more about that later, but yeah, and then after traveling, the last month of August, I didn't do much at all either, just because my husband's birthday was that week and we had a lot of plans and it was a lot of fun. So I spent a lot of time with family in August, didn't read as much as normal, but we're gonna get right back on track and it's all okay. So to quickly go over the star ratings for the books that I did read, let's start with the first book here. And that book is Carrie by Stephen King. I gave this one 4 stars. As I've mentioned in other videos, I am making the big jump and taking the time to read Stephen King in publication order. And his first debut novel is Carrie, and I really enjoyed it. I will be having or doing full-length reviews on my channel for every book that I've read of his, so look out for that review later this month. Side note, I want to give a little shout out to one of my all-time favorite booktube creators, which is NATASHA over at My Reading is Odd. And NATASHA, I swear, is one of my favorite booktubers. I mean, I've been watching her since like 2014. She helped me get into reading after college. She was all things Stephen King on her channel. She's the reason why I picked up The Long Walk a long time ago and really got into Stephen King. And it's really funny how it works because a couple days ago, or let me say that she has been off of YouTube for a few years now, and this week actually she decided to come back to YouTube and is returning, and actually she's reading Stephen King in publication order again, and we're kind of reading the same books at the same time right now, which is really cool. So I just wanted to give a shout out to NATASHA. I'm glad NATASHA's back. NATASHA's the reason why I'm doing this read through of Stephen King. So yeah, thanks NATASHA, excited to chat more books with you. So now let's get into the next book. The second book I read was I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones, and I picked this one up because Kayla's book club, the Literally Dead book club, and Gabby's book club, the book troupe, they kind of dual read this book together. And unfortunately, I did not like this book that much. I gave it a 2-star. I just don't think it's my thing. I should have known from the beginning because, I mean, I like slasher films fine enough. I'm not like a huge fan. Like I can get into them for sure. But this is my first like slasher-esque book. I do want to say that I'll give other slasher books a chance. I just think the inner monologue and stuff of this one just didn't do it for me. But I do want to say the audiobook narrator ate that audiobook. So if you are going to read it and give it a try, definitely listen to the audiobook. I tandem read it. So that experience was fine. That's why I finished it. I think if it wasn't for that experience, I probably would have DNF'd it, but the ending did get better. So if you're looking to DNF at the beginning, I would push through because the ending did make it a bit for me. Instead of having it to be a 1-star, I put it at like a 2.5. Yeah, nothing to really talk about with this one, just not really my cup of tea. Okay, next up, we kind of have 2 books I'm going to talk about. The first one I actually didn't get around to, and this was the Full Moon Readathon like book club book, and that is This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer. And this book was inspired by the book Dead Mountain, or maybe not necessarily just this book, but the Dyatlov Pass incident that happened in real life. So I did ultimately read Dead Mountain and really enjoyed it. I also watched a documentary called The Uncompelling The Uncompelling Story, An Uncompelling Fate. I'll put it here. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it came out in like 2021. So there's even more updated stuff from this book that came out in, let me see, 2013. So if you're interested in this story, there were 9 hikers that were going to the Dyatlov Pass in like 1959, and their tent was found like in shreds, and there were cuts on the tent, and all 9 of them were kind of strung about, all found dead, and there were like bruises and abrasions, and like since that time it really hasn't been determined what happened to them. So obviously there's like paranormal elements that people are saying, murder potentially, and it's just all this conspiracy theories around this story. This book's really great. That documentary is awesome. However, this one is a young adult fiction story, and I just heard terrible things about this book. I think this is like the lowest rating I've seen on Goodreads, like a 3.33. Like, I'll put it here. But I watched Jan's video, and Jan hated it, and like everyone else who read it, in the Discord and stuff, no one liked this book. So I just felt like there's no need for me to put myself through it. I didn't get around to this, but I did have a great time reading and watching the documentary of Dead Mountain. So if you're interested in the Dyatlov Pass incident, chat with me down below, because I've been consumed by that this previous month. So let me know what you think happened during that excursion. I realized that I forgot to say that I gave this one a 4-star ultimately. Next up, we have my only 5-star that I read this month, and that was Amari and the Night Brothers. I can't explain how much I love this book. Like, this is a book that I wish that I would have had when I was a child. I am going to start Amari and the Great Game and hopefully finish Amari and the Great Game and the 3rd book that just released at the end of August. So there'll be a full review about these books later to come. But yeah, I'm in love with Amari and the Night Brothers. B.B. Alston knows what he's doing. And yeah, I'm excited to pick up the 2nd book in this series. The last book I finished this month was a reread for me, and that was Pet by Akweke Emezi. As I was saying in the poll that I had on my community post on YouTube and on Instagram, I was asking for you to pick fantasy series that I've started but haven't finished and I want to continue on with. And Pet and Bitter, the 2nd book in this duology, was highly ranked up there in like the top 3. So I decided to reread Pet, loved it the same. Like I said, Akweke Emezi can do no wrong. And I give this one 4 stars. I'm not going to talk too much in depth about it now. I plan on doing a review of Pet and Bitter together at some point in the future, so look out for that and just know that I really enjoyed it. And then currently I am reading Bitter. Sorry, I don't have the dust jacket on because I'm reading it right now, but Bitter is a prequel to Pet, and it talks about the main character in Pet. Their name is Jam. It's their mother, Bitter, and her story and prequel beforehand. But really enjoying it so far. I'm hoping to finish this in the next day or 2, and then you guys will get that review in a little bit. So those are all the books that I read in August. Yeah, that's all I want to say for that. And let's get into all of my plans for September. Getting into what I'm going to read for the Read Your Library Readathon, I just want to say that Atia has done a great job with curating this readathon for the first time this year. So I'm going to leave her channel and the original announcement video down below. It's never too late to join. I know it's been about a week into September, but this is a month-long readathon, and I would love for anybody else to hop on this with us. However, like I said, I'm going to leave the announcement video below because I'm not going to explain the rules in depth in this video because it would take way too long. But the overall gist of this is that you want to read all books that are from your library, and there are a set of challenges, and then there's also a bingo board. There's rules for what can overlap and how many times it can overlap. All of that's in the video, but I'm just gonna go through the 4 to 5 books I definitely want to get to and to explain what challenge and or bingo prompt that it fulfills. So yeah, let's start with The Poet X. And I actually have these sticky notes on each one just so I remember exactly what challenge it fulfills. So The Poet X, the first challenge that it fulfills is Book You've been meaning to read. Because ever since this book has come out, let me see when it originally released. In 2018, I've heard nothing but great things. I know this is a book, a Hispanic woman named Elizabeth Acevedo wrote this for YA, and I think it's just a coming of age story of the main character. That's all I want to know. It is written in verse, so I feel like it'll be a pretty quick read. I don't read things that are written in verse or like poetry very often, so I'm excited to see how I feel about it. But yeah, I don't really want this to be spoiled because I feel like it's going to be a pretty quick read for me. Like I said, this is a book you've been meaning to read for a while. And then for the 2 bingo prompts that it fulfills is an award winner. This book has won quite a few awards. I will put them on the screen because they're not on this edition of the book, but I know that this has had a lot of praise, and this is a debut novel because this is Elizabeth Acevedo's debut novel. So that is A Poet X. I'll definitely be reading this for the Read Your Library Readathon. Oh, I did want to also mention that in the month of September, it's also Hispanic Heritage Month. So I think it actually runs from September 15th through October 15th, but I'm just going to use September as like treating that as, you know, paying attention to Hispanic heritage. So there are quite a few books on here that are from Hispanic individuals, and this is one of them. So yeah, excited about that as well. Next up is a book that I'm very excited to pick up, and that is Solito by Javier Zamora. And this is a memoir that talks about the author's journey from when he was 9 years old, where he traveled with a group of strangers basically from Guatemala to immigrate into the United States. So that's all I need to know. It is kind of a chunky one. I hope to get it on audiobook and tandem read it, just a little under 400 pages. But what's interesting is that he's actually local, so he lives in Tucson, Arizona, which I think is really cool. But getting into the challenges and prompts, this one fulfills a staff pick. I just asked, there was actually a display that was there for staff picks that was gearing up to Hispanic Heritage Month, and because this is local and everything, and everyone really likes this book, it was there. So this is one that was high up there for me. So this fulfills the staff pick, which is one of the challenges. And then for the bingo board, it fulfills 2 prompts as well, which is a 1-word title. Obviously, Solito's 1 word, and then that it's a true story, which obviously it's a memoir, so it is a true story. So yeah, this is Solito. I'm very excited to pick this one up. Obviously, this is Hispanic Heritage Month rep as well. Next up, we have Root Magic by Eden Royce. This is one I've been waiting to get to for a while, and what's funny is that the challenge prompt that it fulfills is book you've borrowed and never returned. So I've had this one since July. Oops. But I planned on reading it for the July Noir Black Readathon that happened in July for 2 weeks, but didn't get around to it. So I'm going to pick it up for this readathon. So like I said, for the challenge, it is or fulfills the book you've borrowed and never returned, which I've had it since July. And then for the 2 bingo prompts, it fulfills his debut novel because it is a debut novel. And then also like a book that I was just drawn to because of the cover art. I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell with the glare, but I've always been drawn to this cover. So yeah, I'm not even gonna explain what this is about. All I know is that it's set in the South, it's about root magic, and it's a YA book with Black characters. So I'm sold, I don't want anything spoiled for me. I'm very eager to read this one. And the last one I have here specifically that I wanna read for the Read Your Library Readathon is The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. And all I know about this one is it is a kind of modern classic that's a coming of age story of a Hispanic girl in, is it the Bronx? Oh no, in Chicago. And that's all I want to know. This book is very short. It's less than 100 pages actually, or just a little over 100 pages. So that's all I need to know. And then for the challenges, a challenge for this one is a library classic. I consider this a modern classic, so I counted it. And then also it overlaps with an award winner, which a lot of these books are, but that fits that prompt as well. So those are all the books specifically that I have to fulfill all of the challenges in order to like complete the 1 bingo and to complete 4 of the 6 challenges that are on that readathon. However, with a lot of the other books that I have, I'm sure I'll create other bingos on the bingo board, but we'll get into that at the end of the month and see where we fall. That's that. Now let's get into Orilium Magical Readathon and see what books I'm reading for that readathon. All right, so getting into the Magical Readathon, I am so excited to finally be taking part in this huge readathon that takes place all over the internet. I'm very excited for this, and I created my character but I'm just gonna give basic stuff here. I plan on doing a vlog for the 24-hour readathon, which happens like the 21st and 22nd of this month. And I'll be more in depth with that for people who are also participating and wanna know more about it. However, if you're interested, I'm gonna leave G's channel down below and the announcement video, the original announcement video and the announcement video for this section in September. So basically the gist is that you create your own character, and the characters guild that I chose were Mindwalkers, and my calling, which is like my career, is a necromancer. So with picking these careers, there are levels for different topics that you have to get. So for instance, one of the courses I have to take is animal studies, and there are different levels within these. There's 3 different levels. There's ordinary, qualifying, and distinguished. And depending on each one, it's kind of complicated. For each calling that you have specific levels and specific topics that you have to read. I'll put my chart here just so you can kind of see, but I'm just going to quickly go over what the courses are that I have to read and what level I have to read and what books fulfill that prompt. So that was a mouthful. Like I said, just G is going to explain it a lot better than I can, but let's get into what I will be reading for this readathon. Okay, so the first course that I need to complete is in animal studies, and I only need to get an O, which is ordinary. And the prompt for that is to read a book with a phoenix on the cover. So I actually have 2 for these, and depending on how the month goes, we'll figure out if I end up reading both or if I have to pick. So the first one I have here is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. You guys have seen me talk about this because earlier in the year, I went to an author event and met her, and I just haven't picked up this book yet. However, my grandmother-in-law, it's one of her favorites, and she suggested it to me. So my mother-in-law and I plan to buddy read this month, and it does have Phoenix on the cover. I'm very excited to potentially pick this one up this month as long as the buddy read stuff goes fine. And then the other one that I have here is The Dragon Republic. And there is barely a phoenix right here, but it does count. And this is one that was high up for my poll of what I want to continue with the fantasy series, because I've read The Poppy War, and then I now need to continue on with the second book, which is The Dragon Republic. We'll see if I get to it this month or not, but those are 2 that I have that I really want to get to that have phoenixes on the cover. So that's it. Like I said, I only needed an O in animal studies for this one, so let's get into the next course. All right, so the second course that I have to take is Conjuration, and I actually need to get distinguished in that, which means there's 3 different prompts. I need to get ordinary, qualified, and distinguished. So to start with the ordinary prompt, it is a book with a bat on the cover, and I don't physically have that one yet. I'm gonna pick it up from the library, but that is Carmilla. I'm eager to pick this one up because this is a kind of like female Dracula type story that came before Dracula. It's really short, but this is one that I think I can push in there really easily this month. The second one I have here, which is the Q for Conjuration, which means qualified. I'm going to actually count Solito for that because the prompt for this is won an award, and Solito has won multiple awards. Of course, this edition doesn't have the awards on there either, but I'll pop them up here. So this is one that's gonna double over. So this will count for my qualified prompt for Conjuration. And the last one we have for Conjuration, which is D, which is distinguished, is a book with a map. And I picked Ruin and Rising because it does have a map in it. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly. And this is the 3rd and final book in the not Six of Crow, oh my gosh, Shadow and Bone trilogy. So this is another one that was really high up there for the poll for continued fantasy series. So I plan on incorporating this in that vlog and to read it and have it count for the Magical Readathon. So let's get into the next course. Alrighty, the third course that I have to complete is Demonology, but I only need to get an O, which is ordinary in that one, and the prompt for that is a non-reader recommendation. So who I used was my husband, because he doesn't read very often. He reads like maybe a couple books a year if I can really push him to. We're trying to get him to read a bit more, but I decided it was easy enough for him. So what I did is I had a big stack of library books that I had here because I want to also include this for the Read Your Library Readathon. Readathon. So he had about like 8 books that I didn't already have planned in my TBR for this whole month. And the one that he read the flap in wanted me to read was What Moves the Dead by t.kingfisher. And I'm eager to read this one because one, it's short, which is awesome. So thank you, Ben, for doing that, because obviously I have a lot of books to read this month. But because this is my first t.kingfisher, and I've heard nothing but great things about her books, and this is one that I'm excited to pick up. It is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher, so I will make time to read that book, or that short story by Edgar Allan Poe. I have his completed works here. I've never read it before, so I'm going to read that short story, and then I will pick up What Moves the Dead. And like I said, look forward to that Magical Readathon vlog, because I will be, putting my thoughts in for how I liked both of these two. So that was it for demonology. Let's move into the next course. The 4th course I need to complete is restoration, and I just need to get an O, which is an ordinary in that. And the prompt for that level is a night sky on the cover. So I'm going to double up with root magic, which I've already talked about a bit. Obviously, you can see that there is a night sky on the cover, so that will fulfill my ordinary level in restoration. And then my final course that I have to take is spells and incantations, and I have to get qualified in that. So I have to get an ordinary, which is, the prompt is a 5-star prediction, and then a qualified, which is a book that has been shown in G, who's the host, video. So the 2 books that I have for that, for the ordinary, for the 5-star prediction, I have Salem's Lot on here. However, there are so many other books like Solito and other ones that can count for this prompt, but I put this book on here because I am currently reading Salem's Lot. As I've said, I'm going through his books in publication order, and this is the 2nd book. However, this one is pretty thick. I mean, this book is over 700 pages, so this might ultimately go into October, and if it doesn't count, then I'll just use Solito there, but I am hoping to get to this and read some of this during this month. And then the book that I have here that was a book that was shown in G's video is The Tea Dragon Society. I grabbed it from the library. It's a really cute graphic novel. And honestly, I don't know much about it. I just know that it has comfy, cozy vibes, and I like how large it is. Like, it's a big-ass book. And I like the writing style, and I think kind of this will be a cool filler between a lot of these books that we have this month. So there's that. So yes, as I said, this readathon is a lot of fun, but it is kind of complicated. So if you're not following, just watch the videos below. But those are the books that I want to read for that readathon. And then, of course, because I'm always overzealous, I have a couple other books that I'm going to tag on here to see if we potentially get to this month. Alrighty, so I just want to throw in what the results were for the poll of the continued fantasy series. I've already mentioned some here, but the top 4 that I had, aside from Pet and Bitter, so that was, I guess, top 5, but I'll have the other 4 that are listed here. The Dragon Republic, which I already mentioned here that I want to potentially get to this month. The next one is Amari, which I said I've read the first one, Amari and the Night Brothers, and then I plan to read at least the second one this month, and then wrap up with the third one very shortly. Next runner-up was A Court of Thorns and Roses. So actually, I will be reading A Court of Mist and Fury because I've already read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it's the next one in the series that I need to read. This one's big as hell, so we'll see when I'm getting to these, but like I said, I'm going to start doing those vlogs shortly, and I'm already in the middle of some of them. So we'll see what we get to this month. And then lastly, as I already mentioned, Ruin and Rising for the Shadow and Bone trilogy. This is the 3rd and final book for that one, so I'm hoping to get to this one this month, so I can at least say I finished a series. But those are the results, and those are the books that I plan on reading. So the way that my schedule looks, I plan on hitting the 4 or 5 books for the Read Your Library next week. And then I plan on getting into the Magical Readathon stuff that I need to read. That's not the continued fantasy series books like Ruin and Rising and the Dragon Republic and Amari, all of the other ones. And then the last week and a half, I plan on reading as many of the continued fantasy series books that I can read and have a vlog for that. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Let me know what you're reading this month. And actually, one second, I just want to grab this stack to see how crazy this looks. Give me one moment. You think 12 books is possible this month? Probably not, but I have faith in myself and we'll see. It'll be fun either way. Let me know what you're reading for either of these readathons, or what you plan on reading in the month of September, what you liked in this deck, what you didn't, and I will catch y'all in a video here soon. See ya. Bye.